Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. A sensible path back to surplus, that's the Premier's mantra on the eve of Tasmania's overdue state budget. And while billions is being splashed on infrastructure projects, tough decisions can't be ruled out as state debt piles up.
Since switching on solar panels last year with an interest-free loan, Mount Nelson Medical Centre has slashed $1,000 off its quarterly electricity bill. $1.8 million in tomorrow's budget will fund energy audits to help businesses find similar savings.
So they can look at how they can make their premises more energy efficient and, of course, lean into other areas where the government is providing support.
Businesses welcoming a $5.1 billion infrastructure pipeline, but leaders want to know what will be built when, and warning off economist Saul Eastlake's suggestion to stem the budget deficit with more taxes on business.
You don't give someone with a spending problem more money. We've never seen a bigger public service than we have right now, and that's not doctors, nurses and teachers. That's back-end jobs that we need to really look at better ways of doing.
The government's already flagged $110 million for mental health support, $460 million in concessions for vulnerable Tasmanians, and an extra $20 million of maintenance on existing social housing. The big ticket item will be the Macquarie Point Stadium.
It seems that their priorities are skewed, and where they should be focusing on the needs of the people, they've skewed them to projects such as the stadium, which are going to be an enormous waste of money. There's
more to budgets than just spending, and tomorrow there will be a laser focus on how much is being borrowed to cover it all. State debt's predicted to hit $8.5 billion in 4 years, and the interest bill will of course grow along with it.
You could pay for the entire police and emergency management department for the year. That's how much it's going to cost Tasmanians to service Jeremy Rockliff's debt.
We have charted a sensible pathway to surplus. This is not the time to reduce key investments when it comes to delivering on health, delivering on cost of living relief, delivering for housing.
All will be revealed tomorrow afternoon. Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier has pledged to do all he can to save the iconic King Island dairy after it was announced the factory would be closing next year with almost 60 jobs to be axed. Operating giant Saputo had been searching for a buyer for 10 months. The government has established a response team to make it more attractive on the market.
We'll do all we can to ensure the ongoing viability of the King Island dairy, and I stand by my comments. Will not close on my watch.
The Premier is expected to visit the island to meet with the Mayor and affected workers on Friday. A concerning number of Tasmanians say they aren't confident with handling money. The results come from a new survey with nearly 60% of respondents fearing they'll never own a home. And it's prompting calls for better financial education to encourage smart money habits early.
Gauging the level of financial literacy among Tasmanians. New data shows money is causing us stress.
We also found that renters were more likely to have personal loans and more likely to then be in severe debt stress. Women as well were more likely to be in severe debt stress.
A survey of 600 Tasmanians found many aren't confident with their dollars. 60% of the population have some form of debt. Of those, 75% experience debt stress, while 4 in 10 young people don't know how to manage their money.
I think they really just highlighted the need to increase education and to build financial literacy across all Tasmanians, but particularly young people.
Our state's peak youth network confirming it's young people that are overrepresented in the findings. The data showing they're the most likely to be unable to afford bills on time and are often forced to track their spending with fears they'll never own a home.
So what we're hearing from young people is that they're really finding it challenging to manage their money, to budget effectively, to manage their debt, to manage car loans, personal loans. So they're finding it quite difficult.
But those nearing retirement also feel the pressure. Over half are worried about how to fund their retirement years.
They're worried, they just don't know how to fix it, and they don't start to panic to their mid-50s.
With calls for financial literacy information and lessons to begin early to reverse a concerning national trend.
There's no upward trends in financial literacy in Australia, when it's consistently only over 50% of Australians are financially literate.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
Residents of a West Tamar hamlet are back online tonight after 11 days in the dark. Loira Properties have been without power since the major storm system nearly 2 weeks ago. A short time ago, there were still 21 outages across the state.
Tasnetworks crews and contractors have been restoring power to almost 200,000 customers since the storm damage started.
Meanwhile, line workers will vote in coming weeks on a new pay deal from Tasnetworks, offering a 14% pay rise and a $6,000 lump sum. Hobart now has the lowest number of available rentals of any Australian capital city, according to PropTrack. The latest data recording the largest monthly drop, with just 0.87% of homes open to rent. This follows a downward trend of available rentals in Hobart since the pandemic, leaving our city behind the Northern Territory. Regionally, the rental vacancy rate was slightly higher last month, yet still down on the year before. Tasmania has become the last Australian jurisdiction to introduce industrial manslaughter laws, following years of campaigning from grieving families and unions. The changes make it possible to charge both companies and individuals for negligence resulting in a worker's death.
20 years ago, Guy Hudson's son was killed in a tragedy at work.
The loss is phenomenal when you sit and think about it.
16-year-old Matthew Hudson was at the Blue Ribbon Killer Fatty Meatworks in the state's north when his life was cut short.
I think he backed up onto some pallets and it tipped over, and that was the end of it.
Now other families can be spared some heartache of losing a loved one while on the job, with employers to be held accountable, with industrial manslaughter laws finally passing both houses of state parliament.
These laws are aimed squarely at keeping Tasmanian workers safe.
The bill means negligent employers face up to 21 years behind bars and $18 million in fines.
The government repeat multiple times that we had a framework for prosecuting industrial manslaughter under the Criminal Code, despite 100 years of operation and it not being used to protect workers. So we're relieved.
It's an amendment Labor claims they've called on the government to do for years.
To make sure that employers see how serious this is, that they can interpret the legislation, they can be aware of what their responsibilities are, and they can take action to keep workplaces safe.
These laws hoping to educate employers in implementing safer workplaces.
This is a new law and we'll work to implement it.
Guy is hopeful his son's life will leave a legacy that will benefit future Tasmanians, but says there's still a long way to go.
This is only a small piece of it. There's so much more to do to make our loved ones safe.
Rebecca Gaidaneris at 7, Tasmania News.
It's been hidden behind 4 wooden walls for months, but today the final piece of the William Crowther statue was removed from Franklin Square in Hobart. Vandals toppled the majority of the statue in May, protesting atrocities Crowther committed against Aboriginal Tasmanians. Council says the feet will now be reattached to the rest of the body in line with heritage permit requirements, with work underway on a Crowther reinterpreted project to take the statue's place. Fashion fanatics with a taste for tea are in for a treat this week with a unique fashion show hits the catwalk. A team of Tasmanian sewists breathing new life into a ton of vintage fabrics donated by a Hobart family.
A Launceston fabric store turned fashion house. Redress Hub is busy turning out a spring collection like no other.
We're absolutely thrilled, and it's such a historic event too.
Given access to the fabric hall of the century, the group's giving new life to 3 decades worth of leftovers brought home by textile worker Paolo Scavone.
He used to collect material from work to take home for remnants and offcuts for his wife to then make clothing with.
This first collection going up for sale on Friday.
They are going to be paraded at our launch at Dragonfly Tea Atelier in a very 1960s style format.
20 dresses taking inspiration from the swinging 60s source material. Bold colour combinations, the name of the game.
You never saw 2 patterns coming together. It was always a plain and a pattern.
The sewists finishing every item by hand in keeping with the group's slow fashion ethos.
We've put a lot of work into them. These are all handmade, so every single garment is absolutely bespoke.
With around a tonne of donated fabrics to work with, Kirsty and her team have their hands full. Their next collection will be 1970s knitwear.
And we're being warned, once they're gone, they're gone.
We can't repeat them. Even if someone said, "Oh, I really love that colour," we don't have the fabric.
Promising first in really will be best dressed. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, one of the world's most loved musicals is set to take centre stage at Australia's oldest theatre. Hobart's Theatre Royal, playing host to Harold Gray's Annie. The joyous and heartfelt classic hasn't been performed there for 20 years.
I'm really excited. It's one of my favourite musicals.
We're really excited. We open in a month, so it's equal parts of excitement and wanting to share what we've kind of created with everybody, but also a bit of terror because we do only have a month before we hit the stage.
15 shows will take place between October 11 and 26. A new report reveals Tasmania is lagging other states and territories when it comes to building retirement homes. The news is considered a significant blow for the Apple Isle, which is one of the country's oldest populations.
It's not good news for Tasmanians planning for their golden years. According to the Retirement Living Council, the state is ranked 6th nationally in retirement village construction, only ahead of Western Australia. While 2/3 of retirement village development applications take over a year for assessment, 23% are taking more than 2 years.
We have local governments applying handbrakes on development applications for purpose-built retirement communities that, of course, are keeping people healthier and happier for longer.
With Tasmania's population of over 75s set to increase by 62% in the next 15 years, Mr Gannon says the silver tsunami, as he calls it, will be left wanting.
What we should be seeing in Tasmania is the state government playing a more active role, getting involved at a local level to make sure that local government isn't getting in the way. If those local governments need a slap, then the state government should give them one.
The Council on the Ageing Tasmania also concerned about the lack of planning when it comes to accommodating the state's rapidly greying population.
We don't want it to become a postcode lottery, do we? We want it to be that there are facilities and services, medical, health, social, in all regions of Tasmania to help people age well. And we know that out of our 29 local government areas, 22 of those are in a state of what we call hyper-ageing.
The state government says it will provide an alternate pathway for certain types of development applications, which will be assessed by an independent panel. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's pinball mafia has delivered the goods, handing over a cheque for $12,500 to the Launceston General Hospital's Children's Ward, which we put towards a rooftop garden. The funds raised during last month's TasPin, a fun-filled weekend of pinball madness.
It has been absolutely wonderful. These guys are absolutely amazing. Our garden has started today. We have so far raised well over $80,000 to complete this.
We're absolutely stoked that, you know, we can turn our passion and our hobby into something that we can give back to the community.
Planning for next year's event is already underway.
This weekend's Super Welterweight title bout is another step along the path to securing a world title for Launceston fighter Dan the Engine Hill. If he beats Lewis Chadwick in Brisbane on Saturday, it'll be his second time lifting the Aussie Super Welterweight belt.
My dream is a world title eventually. And just keep moving forward, keep winning fights, and hopefully we get there. And, you know, even to represent Launceston and just be a young boy out of their boxing, it means a lot.
2 years into his boxing career, Hill is 6-1 with 3 KOs. 650 of the world's top lawn bowlers will land in the Northwest next year after Bowls Tasmania secured hosting rights to the National Championships.
It's the second largest tournament in Australia, and to have actually got it to come to Tasmania on the northwest of Tasmania is a great coup.
Devonport's Country Club and Burnie will share hosting duties for the 2-week event in November.
Good evening. Hobart 13 degrees today. Launceston, Devonport and Burnie all reaching 16. Flinders Island our top of 18 degrees just prior to 11 a.m. when things started to cool down around the state. Friendly Beach is 17 today. St Helens and Low Head 16. Bushy Park 15. King Island and Strawn 13. Showers over most of the state under this cloud. Mount Victoria 16 millimetres and Cressy 10 millimetres up to 4 p.m. Embedded thunderstorms are over central WA, southern parts of Queensland and central Victoria. More cloud well to the west over the Indian Ocean. Tomorrow, a high over the Bight pushes a ridge to the north, a trough cuts through Queensland and a front approaches southern Tasmania, a warm front. How about that? West to southwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots ahead of a northwesterly change and an increase to 20 to 30 knots over southern waters. We have a strong wind warning, that's from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point, and as we momentarily dive back into winter, we have a frost warning for the central north and Midlands. Hobart 15 after 5 overnight, a cool night for Cygnet, a possible shower, and 14. New Norfolk 15 degrees. Launceston a high tomorrow of 15 after an overnight low of 1. 3 to 15 the range for Devonport, a morning frost for Campbelltown, a high of 14 degrees. Burnie becoming cloudy and 14, a shower for Strawn, 13 the top and 14 for Smithton. St Helens tomorrow a high of 15 degrees, partly cloudy for Swansea, 16, 15 the top for Fingal. On Friday, showers over the west and south, extending over the rest of the state during the morning. Showers mainly over the south and west on Saturday, snow to 300 metres in the south. And on Sunday, patchy morning frost, another cool day with a light shower in the west. A different story though for Perth, sunny and 27 tomorrow, fine in Adelaide and Melbourne, a shower or two forecast for Sydney and showers increasing over Brisbane. And as we head into a cold night tonight, it's clear right now in Hobart, 9 degrees, 11 in Launceston and 12 currently in Devonport. Kim, after the excitement of the last 40 years, I think I need a break, so I'll see you in a little bit.
A month is not a little bit, but you do enjoy. That is all your news for now. We'll have updates and news breaks throughout the night, but for now it is good night.